Hello, listeners. You're about to listen to a very emotional and heartfelt episode. As such, I've stripped it of all production tampering. You're going to hear it exactly as it was recorded. I didn't take out any breathing sounds, any pauses, any clicks. Anything that happened during the recording is what you'll hear. Normally, I spend an hour tweaking it and making sure that the audio quality is just perfect. But because the story that you're about to hear is so emotional and heartfelt, I thought it only fair that you hear it exactly as it was recorded. You're not going to hear any advertisements for the ESO Podcast Network, no promotions of other podcasts. All you'll hear is the podcast as it was, other than this introduction here and the theme tune and end credits for the podcast itself. Welcome to episode 72 of the Soul Forge podcast.
Welcome to the Soul Forge, a place of silent mystery, quiet contemplation, and outright mayhem. Join your host, Sean Vanderloo, as he guides you through the adventures of living. Together, we'll talk about life and love, sex and dating, joy and heartache, memories and loss, and so much more. Don't worry, it's not nearly as pretentious as it sounds. Get ready for life, the universe, and everything on the Soul Forge.
Hey listeners, Sean here. This is going to be a very special episode. It's Sean and Tracy, and we are going to be talking about some sensitive topics that may trigger you or someone you know. Feel free to skip it, or, well, Tracy, what are we talking about?
Today we're talking about suicide.
Yes, so if that's something that may cause you issues, listeners, then definitely skip it. But if you feel the need to share it with somebody that you think it may help, please feel free to do that as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it has been a while since you've been on the podcast.
A few weeks.
Yes, and we definitely missed you.
Thank you. I missed it.
I thought you might have.
Yeah, I did.
How are you feeling?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, okay. I guess is the best I can give you.
Taking it moment by moment?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, so should we just come right out and say exactly what happened?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So do you just want me to
You know
tell
what?
my story?
I can lead up into how I found out if you want.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. It was, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and you had texted me that morning to let me know when I was done my shift so we could hang out and visit. And so then I was done my shift and I texted you and there was no response. And I'm like, okay. So I drove to the house and your car was there and I knocked and the dogs were barking, but there was no answer. So I was like, what do I do now? I didn't want to just barge in and see if you were okay.
Right.
Because I knew you had been struggling.
Yes.
But what is my place in here? I'm just your friend. I'm here to support you. I don't want to overstep any bounds. So before I'd left work, a coworker had said that your mail lady had wanted to talk to me because she had seen an ambulance leaving your house. So then I called that other mail lady and she told me the story and I'm like, uh-oh. So then I texted your husband and he told me what had happened.
Okay.
And this is where you come in.
This is where I come in. And you know what's funny, right? You're telling me this, and I didn't remember this, but you had told me when you came to visit me in the hospital.
Yes.
But I had no memory of that until you just said that, because I think the first time you came to visit me, I was still...
You were a bit foggy.
Yeah, foggy is a good word, I guess.
Maybe on some meds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't remember that until I just heard it again. So that was interesting. But so what happened... a few weeks prior to that, maybe a couple weeks, I started feeling really, really low. I mean, I've suffered from depression and anxiety. I think I've mentioned that before, but just in case I haven't, to let all listeners know, for the last, pretty well as long as I can remember, I've been on and off medication for the last 20 years. So it's been an up and down thing for me. Good days, bad days, obviously good times, bad times. I've been off work a few times, 3 or 4 times, because of the anxiety and depression. So anyway, I was kind of sliding, getting lower and lower, feeling worse and worse about myself. And started thinking about suicide. And I just felt that I didn't want to continue. I was in such emotional and even physical pain because of it. Felt myself absolutely worthless, and that everybody I knew would be better without me because of the burden that I was already bearing on them, plus the burden that I would continue to bear, because this doesn't just go away.
Right. What is the burden that you think you are? That's what I never could understand. Like, what is it that you feel about yourself that causes, I don't know, pain, or like you said, a burden? I can't think of any other better word for it on somebody.
You just think, part of it is that you think yourself is absolutely worthless, that you have nothing to offer anybody. And the burden is that they have to deal with what you're dealing with as well. It doesn't just affect me. It affects my kids. It affects my parents. It affects my husband. It affects my friends. It affects my coworkers. Like, it's not just one person who is affected by somebody's depression. It's like a pretty big number. So when you feel that awful about yourself, you just don't see, like, I didn't see a point in continuing. And I know a lot of people don't understand, and you never will understand
Unless you're in that situation.
You've been in that situation. And even those who, are understanding of mental illness still don't quite get the suicide part. I was talking to my cousin, and she says, I don't understand how you want to die and how you don't see that it can't get any worse than that. Like, how do you not see that it can't get worse and you're only going to get better from there? And I said, yeah, that's a logical thought, though. And when you're in that...
You're in the depression, the logic disappears.
Right, exactly.
So you see it as being a burden on everybody you know.
Yeah, everybody.
And you can't see it from the opposite way, that there's all these people that are affected by you, but they're also affected by you in a positive way. And they're happy to know who you are, right? You can't see that.
Absolutely. You cannot see that at all.
And I can tell you from personal experience that that's true. People don't see that. Because my mom, 4.5 years ago, she ended her life as well. And we had a funeral for her a week later. There were so many people at the funeral and so many positive words. Your mom, she was so giving and loving, and she took care of everybody. She didn't know how many people she was affecting. So you don't know. And I guess because you just see it in a negative, because you're in the depression, you can't see the positive impacts you're having on people.
Right. And I think that's a characteristic of people with depression too, oftentimes, is that empathy. And I think that's one thing that makes it really hard for me, is that if somebody's going through something, somebody that I care about or know even like a little bit, if they're going through something, I almost feel like I'm going through it.
So you feel what they feel.
Absolutely, for sure. Especially if it's my kids or those really close to me, right? But even, and I really relate to parents who are going through different things, parents that I know or even parents that I don't know, because I automatically feel, I think, what I would feel in that situation, or what I think I would feel. I don't know.
You feel too much.
Yeah. A lot of times I do think I feel too much.
Do you feel like there's a great big funnel over your head where everybody's emotions and feelings are just being like directly downloaded into you?
Something like that.
Is it like that? Because that's how I see it in my head anyway.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
And it's overflowing the filter, and you just can't handle it all. So you break down.
Right.
Okay. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So we'll go back to that day. So I had texted you And I'm not even really sure why I did, because I knew what I was going to do
Right from the beginning.
right from the beginning. I went to bed the night before
With the plan.
knowing what was going to happen. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it was just a way maybe to get you to text Daryl or something. I'm not really sure. I don't really know. But anyway, I did. So after that, I took almost 80 pills.
That's a lot of pills.
Some of them were muscle relaxants, and some of them were, it was clonazepam. I can't think of the word right now for what it is. It's basically to relax you.
Okay.
I've taken it before for anxiety and stuff, but I had those at home, and that's what I took. So I think it was about half an hour later, maybe 40 minutes later, my husband came home for lunch
Good thing.
and found me, and apparently I was kind of mumbling some stuff, wasn't coherent. He saw the pill bottles and called 911.
Good.
So from there, I was brought to hospital by ambulance, as you had mentioned, and they had to intubate
So you could breathe?
so I could breathe, because I don't know, I'm not a medical professional, but I guess I was making a sound when I was breathing that they could tell I was struggling to breathe.
Oh, okay.
So I was intubated and brought to ICU, and the next day, like maybe 24 or a little more hours later, they stopped the sedation and took out the tube, and I gradually kind of woke up. I don't remember anything from that. Like, there's maybe a few seconds here and a few seconds there, but and then they sent me to the mental health unit.
Which you stayed at for
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And I visited you, I think, 3 times.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
I would have visited more, but I didn't want to overstep any bounds, like I've told you before. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know what my role as your friend is. And it's a very sensitive issue. And
Yes, yeah, it is
topic,
for
so-
sure. And I know it's sensitive to you as well.
Yeah, it-
specifically because of your family.
my mom did it. Her brother did it. Their mother tried to do it. So a lot of depression and alcoholism in my family. So yeah, I'm a sensitive person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes a deep thinker, and I just can't be one of those. Oh, whatever, it's okay.
Right. So how did that feel for you? Not just as a friend of mine, but as a friend who's lost loved ones to suicide.
It was horrible.
Okay.
As I was sitting in your driveway trying to figure out what the hell I was gonna do, I was like, she better be okay, because that sucks. Because there's so much more friendship to go. Like we've been friends for 4 or 5 years, something like that. I don't know exactly.
I don't know.
It doesn't even matter.
No.
But I think we have a similar temperament and think the same and
Yeah, for certain things.
certain things. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And if you were gone, I don't know. It would have been horrible. So don't do it again.
Yeah.
I know that's easy for me to say.
Right. Yep.
But
Thank you. That's really kind of you.
it's my job. It's all of our jobs to let you know that you are important and people do care about you and we like you and we want you to stick around. And between you and Jay, I've got 2 great co-hosts for the Soul Forge here. So
Oh, I need to stick around for the Soul Forge.
at least for that, if nothing else, sure, stick around for your husband and the kids and your
Okay.
family too.
Okay.
But the Soul Forge needs you, Tracy. The listeners need you.
You do. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
And I need you to listen to all my crap that I don't talk about on the Soul Forge
Right.
and give me advice and tell me when I'm being an idiot. So,
Okay. Well, I do that.
yes, you do. And I appreciate it. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was 2 weeks in the hospital. And you were allowed visitors twice a day for 2 hours.
Right.
And you near the end, you were out a couple times.
Yeah, so this was about a week, this happened about a week before Thanksgiving, I think.
Something like that.
So I did go, the first time I went out was for, I think it was the first time, yeah, Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house, which was, of course, great, but also very stressful, and I almost left. Just because, like, nobody did anything wrong, of course. It's just when you have a big meal like that, people are also stressed from trying to get the meal going and whatnot. But again, nobody did anything wrong or said anything they should have said. It was more
How you
me,
were feeling
right?
on their behalf.
Me reacting
Okay.
in a way that I need to learn not to react. The next day was much better. I went home
Good.
and basically did nothing all day. My husband cooked for me and he kind of doted on me.
Oh.
So that was really sweet, and which I kind of needed, just to be at home but not have any of the responsibilities of being at home.
Yeah.
So that was a great day. And then I think a couple days later I went home for a few hours, and I think I did that one more time maybe.
I think so.
And then I was discharged after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I want to know is, how are people around you? How do they act? Do they ask you? Are they afraid to talk about it because it might trigger something? Do they treat you any differently?
People, I haven't seen many people.
Okay. Because you're still off work, and you will be for a while.
Because I'm at least off work and for a month. But I have also previously been in the mental health unit, so I can definitely speak to that, because I had gone back to work and everything. But people kind of avoid it. They might say, "How are you doing?" but really don't want me to say, "You know what? I'm really shitty today. I've been thinking about dying all day."
Right.
They don't want me to say that.
Because that's not how people usually answer a question, and people
Right.
don't know how to react.
Right.
And they don't know what to do.
It's very awkward.
I bet.
I find especially with those closest to me,
Okay.
because they're not the kind of people, like, my parents I can talk to. I feel free talking about most things, and my husband is very supportive. But anywhere outside of that, I find they want to help, but they don't know what to say. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that is hard. There's actually a family gathering tomorrow evening, and I'm not going to it.
Because it's just too much.
Yeah. Because it's too much and it's awkward.
And it's still a taboo subject.
Oh, for sure.
And so nobody even wants to talk about it.
Right.
And some people
Right.
might be curious, but they feel like it's rude to ask.
Right.
And before we started recording, I asked you if there was any questions that was off limits. And
Yeah.
you said, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll try to phrase anything I say in a, what did I say? In a non...
Offensive.
Yeah.
Non-offensive, I think is what you said.
Because I'm the least offensive person you'll ever meet. But sometimes if my words are jumbled and I'm a little bit nervous about what I'm trying to say, it might come across as offensive,
Maybe.
but it's never meant that way.
You're right.
So.
Right. I do understand that. I had a thought, and now it's gone.
That happens.
It does. I don't know.
So,
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
So what I was going to say, and I think that from this happening to me and knowing that it's a lifelong thing, like, I'm not going to take some antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications and be better.
You're going to be all better.
Yeah.
Just take this magic pill and everything will be okay.
I wish, because I would have been better a long time ago. But what I would like to do out of this is to be able to help other people. And when I came today, you asked if I was ready to talk about it. And as much as it's hard to talk about, I want to. Because if I can help one person in any Facebook post, in any podcast that I can do, anything, if I can help anybody, then I won't know, obviously, but I feel better just doing this.
Well, yeah.
In case that can happen.
And even though the reach of this podcast is not very big, there are people who listen to it every week, and they make comments on the posts, and they're there, and they appreciate it.
Yeah.
And the more honest that we can be about something,
Yeah.
and the more open we are, I think it helps people.
I think so too, and not even necessarily with somebody who's contemplating suicide, but maybe it's their loved one or their friend or whatever, and
Somebody,
maybe they're not
yeah.
experiencing it right now, but maybe they will in the future, and you know, they will have listened to this podcast,
And it'll always be there.
for sure, yeah,
So if we can do anything to help anybody,
yeah,
you know, because that's what we're here for.
for sure.
Let's see. So you said you've always been depressed? Did it like happen at a certain age, or was it like right from the time that you can remember?
I don't remember it happening at a certain age, but when I look back, especially with death, I kind of always remember wanting to die, even as a kid, even as a
Really?
little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or wanting bad things to happen to me, like being in a terrible car crash or getting really sick or dying.
Because
Dying.
you wanted to die, or you just wanted to feel the pain so you could feel feelings? Like, are you numb? Is that what it is? Or do you
Definitely not numb.
not numb because you
I
feel too
think-
much?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just, and I wouldn't, I mean, I didn't grow up as a kid thinking I was in pain, but looking back, I do remember those thoughts of wanting to die and stuff.
Is there something in your childhood that you can point to? Like, was there a traumatic experience?
No, and that's
were you
kind
treated
of-
like crap?
No, I had actually a pretty good childhood. I can't, like, my dad worked, my mom stayed home. She couldn't work, but so she stayed home and took care of us. And like, I wasn't perfect, but like so much better than a lot of people that I,
Grew up in the same house
yeah,
all your life?
yeah, pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing anyway that I can recall unless there's repressed memories. But no, like nothing.
So it's just the chemistry of your brain.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And they can tweak your medication, and you've tried different things.
I have tried a lot of different medications over the last 20 years. So I guess there's certain what they call classes of medication. So basically their jobs are different for what they're going to do for you. And I've tried medications from every class. And usually if one in a class doesn't work for you, another one isn't either.
Okay.
So now they've kind of gone outside of the box and giving me different medications that are used for different things, different mental illnesses.
Okay.
But obviously I was just admitted to the hospital 3 weeks ago, so that's not really working either. Yeah. They have changed my increased medications since I was admitted, but they didn't go full out change anything.
Okay. And are you finding that the change or the increase has helped any, or is it too soon to tell, really?
I think it's kind of too soon. I mean, I'm not feeling so low and I'm not wanting to die.
That's good.
So that's a good thing. That's a bonus, right?
I'd say.
But I don't know if that's only because of the medication or because I'm realizing what I went through, and I'm also having a lot of guilt, actually.
Can you speak about that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I thought by doing this I would be helping my friends and family
By not being a
by
burden.
not being a burden.
Right.
And obviously realizing now and speaking to my oldest daughter in particular, who's 21, how much my death would have impacted other people, especially my children.
No, for sure.
So there's a lot of guilt
I bet.
around that.
Yeah,
So I'm having a bit of a hard time dealing with that.
of course.
Yeah. But I'm getting there.
You are. You are getting there.
Yeah.
You're getting emotional right now,
I
but
am.
that's
That's
totally
okay.
understandable, and there'd be something wrong with you if you weren't. So going forward, you were in the mental health unit for 2 weeks. You're out now. What aftercare is there for somebody who has gone through this? Not much.
Not much, to be honest. The last time, or no, I've been hospitalized 3 times. The first time was for just kind of wanting to attempt, but being scared, so I was admitted.
Yeah.
A second time was kind of an attempt, but not.
Full blown.
I took some pills, but not that many.
Okay.
Not enough to make me anything more than woozy and foggy. And this time, so the first time, I was offered a therapist who is a trained registered nurse at the hospital, the outpatient mental health unit.
Yes.
So I saw her for actually 2 years. I think you're only supposed to go for about a year, but then I ended up back in the hospital, and but haven't seen her since I think July.
Okay.
So I think there were combinations of things that sent me into the slide, and I think that was a small part of it. But this time coming out, there's nothing.
Oh.
So I have to look in to find my own therapist.
Get your own damn help.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So,
Wow.
yeah, so I have to currently do that, which is kind of hard.
I bet
actually.
it is.
Like, it's hard emotionally, and people may just think, we'll just pick up the freaking phone and call, but
That's not easy.
it's not. Definitely not. So I did leave a couple messages. So I did finally make the calls yesterday or the day before, but haven't heard anything. But yeah, so there really isn't anything. I mean, I have a psychiatrist that I see once a month.
Okay.
And it happened that I saw him, I was discharged on a Friday, and I saw him on the Monday. So that worked out quite nicely, but there's nothing else set up for me.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow, that's got to be hard.
Yeah, it is.
But
yeah.
your friends are here to support you.
Yes.
And they do.
Yes.
And you just have to remember to reach out to them. And that's the hardest part, isn't it?
It is, because when I'm in a deep depression, I don't want to talk to anybody. I
course
don't
not.
even want to leave my bed.
I bet.
I don't even want to shower.
You just want to sit there and just melt away.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So it is very hard to reach out. And so, I did a post on Facebook last week or whenever it was. And
Yes.
different people commented, well, I'm here if you need me, if you want to talk. I got numerous comments on the post, some
Private
private messages, and I am so thankful, and I do appreciate all of those messages, but I know very well I probably won't reach out to any of those people.
Because it's an internal struggle.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be a burden.
Not because I don't think they can help me.
Right.
But it's within me.
It's because of the chemistry in your brain
Yeah.
that makes you think these ways.
Right.
Right, okay. All right. So have we covered everything? Is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Any warnings, thoughts, anecdotes?
Not really. Just if you know someone with mental illness or depression, that depression is a mental illness, or there's so many of them. If you know somebody, please reach out to them regularly. And it may not help them in the way that it may not prevent them from sliding or whatever, but at least they'll know in their heart that they're cared for.
Somebody cares.
Yeah. And if you are struggling, if you can reach deep inside and talk to somebody, whether it be a friend or a professional, there's even, I wish I had the information on me, there's even one place that you can text.
Oh.
So for people who don't want to actually talk, to somebody, they can still get advice, get help, get support through texting.
Is incredible, because
Yes.
I would be more likely to text than to call somebody.
I think a lot of people would these days. Yeah, anybody our age and under they're used to texting all the time.
Well, that's right.
Yeah,
That's good.
if I can find it after, maybe
Put it in the show notes
right.
or
Yeah,
something.
I'll look for it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I do thank you a lot for sharing your story with us, and
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're a very brave girl, brave woman, brave person. I don't know. You know what I mean.
All those things.
Oh, yeah, you're awesome, and the world would be worse off without you.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go.
Yes.
So that's the end of our podcast. If you've listened this far, you can email Tracy by just emailing the podcast. What is it? soulforgepodcast@gmail.com if you want to
Right.
reach out. We're on Twitter @soulforgepod.
Right. On
Leave
Facebook?
Leave a comment on the Soulforge Facebook page.
Right. Or if somebody wants to, they can also send me a message on Facebook if they want to private message me.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm willing to do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So once again, thanks for listening to episode 72 of the Soul Forge podcast. And remember,
Don't think for a second that my bad days are a sign of weakness. Those are the days that I'm actually fighting the hardest.
this has been another episode of the Soul Forge podcast. Find us on Twitter at SoulForgePod or email the show via soulforgepodcast@gmail.com. Soul Forge is a production of Sean Vanderloo and Friends. You can find Sean on Twitter and Instagram at Darth Vaderloo. Remember to visit soulforgepodcast.com for all of our social media links and share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for stopping by the Forge. We'll keep the fires lit until your next visit.